There are many videos that cover the Browning 1918 belt loader, but very little out there on the Colt commercial variant, and that's what this video will cover. It is a sister loader effectively to the 1918, has a lot of the same features, and probably many of the parts are interchangeable, but some of the key differences are instead of a set screw on the end of the handle here, you just have a tapered pin. You also have a hopper instead of the feed chute. And also, you can't really see it, but the C-clamp is like a dovetail C-clamp that is useful for clamping onto a bench or such. From as near as I can tell, this loader was part of a contract to Argentina, as it is set up for 7.65 by 53 Argentine. This cartridge is shorter than 30-06 or even 8mm Mauser, but this loader is still very useful for loading 308 with the appropriate spacer. One of the more tedious aspects of the 1918 and commercial loaders is setting up the needles. There are a total of 6 needles, 3 on the top, 3 on the bottom, and you want them to come together roughly 1/100th of an inch apart, which is about the thickness of a playing card. And you also want to make sure none of them are bent, dulled, or otherwise deformed. Otherwise, they're not going to be able to open the pockets properly. Another setup consideration is how much tensioning do you need on the feed wheels to ensure proper cartridge insertion into the belt. If your belts are new or especially tight pockets, you want to use the heavy setting that I have set right here, but most of the time you'll just use normal, which gives a little bit less tension. It's easier on the belts, it doesn't wear out the machine as much, it is the preferred setting. Unlike loaders that were set up for longer cartridges such as 30-06, which require changing the pusher bar and the spacer, all that's required in this particular loader is just a spacer to keep the cartridge at the back of the hopper. I made my spacer out of a plastic yard sale sign because it's easy to cut, and used some double sticky tape to give me the appropriate thickness I needed to keep the cartridge the whole way back in the hopper. Again, a bit of a MacGyver moment, but it actually works because there's no pressure applied on this area of the cartridge. It's just a guide down into the hopper. So simply insert the spacer into the hopper, like such, and then you're ready to put cartridges in. The primary advantage to the hopper over the feed chute is it's just easy to drop rounds into the hopper as opposed to lining them up one by one into the feed chute. And you can see that the spacer is just keeping the cartridges back towards the back of the hopper to keep them in proper alignment. The process for loading the belt, in this case with 308, is the same as any other Browning 1918 belt loader. Partially insert the first cartridge, make sure the second cartridge is just approaching the needles, line it all up, put some tension. I'm just going to use the normal setting. Make sure the round is starting to enter the pocket. Close down the needles. And at that point, you just crank away. I like to hold the belt just to keep it even and keep a little tension on it. And there you have it. These belt loaders, some are nearing 100 years old. This one I believe to be 90 years old, and it's amazing how well they still continue to function as long as they've been properly cared for. I nearly forgot about including the wooden storage box that was made for the belt loaders. They were originally varnished, and then at some point they were painted after the fact. Over the many years, I throw my spacer in here, which wants to be difficult to get out. Keep my spare needles in here, which are always very handy to have. But this is how it was issued. The dovetail C-clamp I had mentioned earlier, You can see how that has a locking tab here to keep it attached firmly to the base of the loader. One thing to make note of is when you put this on here, it might be difficult to see, but this is above the wooden rim here, so you always want to have that tilted to the side before you attempt to close the lid. Otherwise, you'll be pounding on it all day. These were made to be the same size as the wooden ammo boxes, and typically would have had a stripe or some other marking on them to denote them as being the belt loader and not a can of ammo. But over the years, it appears that marking has worn away on mine.